So with version 3.7 right around the corner, there's one topic I keep seeing pop up across Reddit threads, Discord discussions, and even YouTube comments: Cyrene. On paper, she should be one of the biggest highlights of this patch. She's a 5-star ice character on the path of remembrance, comes with a completely unique mechanic involving recollection points and her own memo sprite, and she ties directly into the lore of the Chrysos heirs. Sounds amazing, right? But here's the twist. Despite all of that, a lot of players are already planning to skip her. And today, I want to break down why that is, what the community is saying, and whether those reasons actually make sense once you step back and look at the bigger picture. Buy 6,480 Oniric shards with 3.6 limited pack for only $71 at lootbar.gg. Returning users can also grab an extra coupon for up to 5% off. Link in the description. First off, let's talk about her kit, because that's the elephant in the room. Cyrene's skill description is, no joke, one of the longest in the entire game. We're talking over 1,600 words and around 11,000 characters just to explain her abilities. For context, Zhao kit is about 300 words, Blade sits around 400, and even Phanon, who people already call a complex unit, is closer to 1,000. Cyrene's description basically dwarfs all of them. Players are joking that it reads like a Bible or a CVS receipt, and while that's funny, it does highlight a real problem: the sheer complexity. When you sit down to parse it, you realize how many moving parts she has. Recollection points, future states, a memo sprite that mirrors her health, zones that trigger true damage, and then on top of that, tailored effects for specific Chrysos heirs, like giving Castoris extra turns, boosting Phanon's energy regeneration, or granting my day def ignore. This isn't a straightforward press skill get buff type of kit. It's a wall of conditions, sub-conditions, and exceptions. And let's be real, not everyone wants to read a novel just to figure out how to press their buttons in a turn-based RPG. Now, complexity by itself isn't always a bad thing. Some people love mastering high-skill ceiling characters. Think back to Ruin May. When she first released, players were intimidated by the buffs and conditions, but once she settled into the meta, she became one of the most universally loved supports in the game. The problem is that Cyrene's complexity feels like it comes with a lot of baggage. Her ultimate, for example, can activate all teammates' ultimates at once, which sounds completely busted, until you realize it can only be used once per battle. That immediately turns what could have been a defining mechanic into more of a one-time gimmick. And to make matters worse, once she enters that ripples of past reverie state after using it, her basic attack gets locked into just one version. So instead of unlocking more options, you actually lose flexibility in how you play her. And then there's the dependency issue. A huge part of her kit revolves around generating recollection points, which she gains from allies consuming the future buff she hands out. If you're not running her with Chrysos heirs or characters that can efficiently trigger these states, her entire engine slows down. The leaks even mention that if you don't have other heirs or memo sprite users, it can be hard for her to even charge her ultimate. That makes her feel extremely niche. She shines in those perfect lore-themed heir teams, but outside of that bubble, she risks being underwhelming compared to more general supports like Ruin May, Pela, or even Bronya, who can slot into basically any lineup and bring consistent value. And this is where we hit the rich gets richer problem. If you already have a stacked account with Chrysos heirs, Cyrene looks incredible. She makes them even more broken. But for the average player who's pulling more casually, she just doesn't offer that same level of universal support. Imagine being a free-to-play or low spender trying to decide where to put your stellar jades. Do you want a support that only feels great if you also have Phanon, Castoris, Mighty, and the rest? Or do you want someone who's useful no matter what your box looks like? Most people are going to pick the latter. Another factor that keeps coming up in discussions is fragility. Cyrene's skill deploys a zone that triggers extra true damage whenever allies deal damage, which is really strong. But if she gets downed, the zone disappears immediately. That means her survivability becomes a direct bottleneck for her value. You can imagine how frustrating it would feel to finally set everything up, only to watch it vanish because she got targeted once. Compare that to someone like Ruin May or Sparkle. Their buffs stay consistent and don't collapse the moment they're off the field. And let's not forget the psychological side of this. When a character's kit description is this long, it creates a barrier. Casual players look at Cyrene and just think, this is too much. Even veterans feel overwhelmed, not because they can't understand it, but because they're asking, do I really want to deal with all this bookkeeping every fight? For many, the answer is no. And it doesn't help that Honkai, Star Rail already has a reputation for very text-heavy kits. Cyrene just takes that to a whole new level. There's also a historical pattern here. Every time we get a character that looks overloaded on release, the community splits. Some people say, she's insane, must pull, power creep incarnate, while others warn that it's too conditional. We saw it with Jingliu, we saw it with Danheng Imbibitor Lunai, and even with Phainon more recently. Usually, those characters find a place, but they also expose this divide between people who love chasing maximum synergy and those who just want plug-and-play reliability. Cyrene, at least based on the leaks, seems to be leaning very heavily into that first camp, and that's why so many players are saying they'll skip her. It's not that she looks weak. If anything, in the right team, she looks absurdly powerful. It's that she's conditional, she's overwhelming, and she feels like she's designed more for hardcore team builders than for the average player. Add in the fact that her ultimate is once per battle, her zone disappears if she dies, and her true strength depends on you owning half of the Chrysos Heirs roster, and suddenly she doesn't look so appealing as a general investment. So, will Cyrene end up being a must-pull monster once people figure her out? It's possible. We've been wrong before, and leak kits don't always survive untouched into release. But right now, the skepticism is real, and the reasons are pretty understandable. Personally, I think she's fascinating from a design standpoint. She's like an experiment in just how much text you can cram into a kit. But for most players, especially those who are saving Stellar Jades for more straightforward units or future fan favorites, skipping her in 3.7 feels like the safe play. What do you think, though? Are you excited to try mastering all of her mechanics? Or are you more in the camp of too complicated, not worth the headache? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because this feels like one of the most divisive releases we've had in a long time. And if you want to keep up with more updates, breakdowns, and community reactions like this, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out. Buy 6,480 Oniric shards with 3.6 limited pack for only $71 at lootbar.gg. Returning users can also grab an extra coupon for up to 5% off. Link in the description.